Thank you, Chair. Members of the EDC, I'm going to go through the list of members, and when I call your name, please indicate that you are present. Rubin Alonso.
Present.
Thank you. Steve Betts.
Present.
Tony Bradley. Paul Carden.
Here.
Vice Mayor Crane.
Present.
Thank you. Superintendent Donovan. Vice Mayor Edwards.
Present.
Thank you. Supervisor Galvin. James Griffiths. Vice Mayor Hampton.
Present.
Thank you. Centra Hoffman. Councilmember Judd.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor LaValle.
Yes, Denise, I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor. Governor Lewis. Councilmember Luna.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Melnar.
Present.
Thank you. Mike Markham, sorry.
Present.
Thank you, Mike. Councilmember McMahon. Thank you. Councilmember O'Brien.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliphant. Mayor Osborne. Councilmember Pineda. Vice Mayor Rowe.
Here.
Thank you. Mark Sanders.
Present.
Thank you. Todd Sanders. Councilmember September.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Bob Worsley. And Chair Hermosillo is here. Is there anyone that I missed or did not call?
Greg Donovan is present.
Thank you. Superintendent. Anybody else?
Mayor Osborne's present.
Thank you, Mayor.
Bob Worsley, present.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. All meeting attendees will be entered muted. Phone-only attendees will need to press *6 to unmute at the beginning of the meeting, and if there are subsequently muted by the host. Please remember to mute when you are not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. And considering there is a quorum present, the meeting of the MAG Economic Development Committee is called to order. All right, we will jump into announcements. I would like to welcome a new member to the committee, Supervisor Thomas Galvin from the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. We are excited to have you join and look forward to your participation. Welcome on board. Next, on February 16th, the members of our Economic Development Committee attended a tour of the Southwest campus of the Western Maricopa Education Center, also known as WestMEC. We had the opportunity to learn about how this public school district provides high school age and adult students innovative career and technical education programs. We observed how they prepare students to enter the workforce and also allow them to earn college credit and industry credentials. We also thank Buckeye Mayor Eric Osborne, Carefree Vice Mayor John Crane, Peoria Councilmember John Edwards, Avondale Councilmember Mike Pineda, as well as economic development professionals that joined us. On behalf of our delegation, we thank Superintendent Dr. Greg Donovan, the Southwest Campus Administrator, Dr. Aaron Parsons, and Dr. Spencer Isom for hosting us and for the great work they do in our region. For those who may be interested, a video of the tour is available in today's meeting materials located on the MAG website. All right, moving on to call to the audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda and that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments?
We received no public comments for this item or any other item on the agenda today.
All right, thank you so much. We'll move forward with item 3, which is the MAG Economic Development Report. The next item will be presented by Nathan Pryor, MAG Policy and Government Relations Director on activities of general interest.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the EDC. We've added this item. We imagined it could be a standing item as warranted at upcoming future EDC meetings, really showing the work that's ongoing at MAG, that MAG staff does, but also working with member agencies and stakeholders, recognizing there's some time between EDC meetings, but the work is ongoing and continues. So with that, next slide, please. So on Thursday, March 10th, we had a delegation from Portugal visit. This included the Consul General of Portugal, Pedro Pinto, Teresa Fernandez, who's the Director of Portugal Global Trade Investment Agency. And this was all created by Mayor Rui Pereira of Wickenburg, who's the honorary consul for Portugal in Arizona. So with Mayor Pereira's involvement, of course, Wickenburg being a MAG member agency, provided this opportunity to introduce members of the Consul General's office out of San Francisco for Portugal to the region. At our event, we had Mayor Les Peterson from Carefree, Mayor Ken Weiss from Avondale, and Mayor Corey Woods from Tempe. Overall, the Consul General, Pinto, he expressed sentiments of Portugal, looking to build relationships within the MAG region, explaining that although Portugal is sometimes overlooked, they're open and ready to build relationships with other countries. Also, Director Fernandez noted they chose to visit Arizona because they would like to see more companies from this region investing in Portugal. Director Fernandez, she also noted that they had a workshop with Westmark to discuss companies in the West Valley that could benefit from investing in Portugal. MAG had a presentation. We shared our focus on investments, highlighting ongoing transportation infrastructure investment in our region, as well as our work in regional homeless, especially with the adoption of the Regional Homeless Action Plan in December. So it's a great conversation. I'd like to thank Mayor Pereira for creating this opportunity and for our elected officials for turning out to that event. On the bottom of the slide, you see we were involved with the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce International Business Forum. Elsa Belgine of MAG staff was able to participate, focusing on conversations of Mexico-U.S. border relationships. Elsa Belgine did a great job of impressing our work on the border crossing card, how Arizona is working to expedite entry of Mexican visitors to enjoy our state. Next slide, please. Lastly, we had an opportunity at the Phoenix Committee on Foreign Relations March 30th event. This was Governor Ducey's International State of the State, where his comments focused on growing relationships and business opportunities during his time as governor. We were able to have Supervisor Jack Sellers of Maricopa County, who is our Transportation Policy Committee Vice Chair, as well as Governor Stephen Rel Lewis of the Gila River Indian Community, who's also the Economic Development Committee Vice Chair, able to participate in that event. Of note in this, MAG has recently become a member of the Phoenix Committee on Foreign Relations, so there are more events to come, and we look to invite our member agencies and stakeholders to participate in those with us. So, Madam Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Are there any questions from the membership? All right, hearing none, this item is on the agenda for information only. Our next item is approval of the February 1st, 2022 meeting minutes. Does any member of the EDC have questions or comments on the minutes?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Councilmember Malnar. I just had a comment that I'd like to make regarding minutes. I know we take a roll call vote, but to me, it seems like a voice vote would be appropriate for the minutes only, not for other actions, rather than take the time out of this meeting to go through a full roll call. I would recommend that we do a voice vote from this time forward on the minutes only.
Okay.
And I make the motion to approve the minutes.
All right, we have a first motion by Mr. Melnar, a second motion.
Second
Who spoke? Was that Mr. Luna?
is Ms. Betts.
Hi. Okay, sounds good. We have a first motion by Mr. Melnar, a second motion by Mr. Betts. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. All right, we have approval of the minutes by the committee. Moving,
Madam Chair, if I could jump in. This is Nathan
Yes.
Pryor, MAG staff. We've been advised by our legal counsel that we need to do these roll call votes, including the minutes. If we could maintain that practice for this meeting and just after the meeting, check in with our legal counsel just to verify and confirm that, I think it would be appreciated.
I figured there would be a concern with council, so with that said, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote and follow the suggestion by Mr. Pryor to check in with council. The next meeting we'll see if it will, if allowed, we'll do a voice vote.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We understand some of the kind of machinations, but we'll do our best. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Denise, may I hand it over to you for a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Your name and let me know how you vote. Rubin Alonso,
Yes.
Steve Betts,
Yes.
Tony Bradley, Paul Carden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Crane,
Yes.
Superintendent Donovan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Edwards,
Yes.
James Griffiths, Vice Mayor Hampton,
Yes.
Cynthia Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Judd, Mayor LeBeau,
Yes.
Governor Lewis, Councilmember Luna,
Yes.
Councilmember Melnar,
Yes.
Mike Markham,
Yes.
Councilmember McMahon,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Osborne,
Yes, again, and good try, Councilman Melnar.
Councilmember Pineda, Vice Mayor Rowe,
Yes.
Mark Sanders,
Yes.
Todd Sanders, Councilmember September,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Bob Worsley,
Yes.
and Chair, how do you vote?
Yes.
Is there anybody that I missed?
Councilmember Judd, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much for that. All right, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport strategic plan and near-term goals. Director Chad Makowski at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport will provide us the update.
Thank you, Chair Hermosillo and members of the Economic Development Committee of MAG. It's my privilege and honor to be with you all today to give you a bit of an update on Sky Harbor International Airport. And I believe they'll be pulling up a deck here momentarily. Great, next slide, please. All right, I thought I'd start by just giving you a bit of a sense of how Sky Harbor is faring as it relates to the pandemic. And what you see on this slide here before you is a snapshot of our monthly employments. It's kind of the rhythm. Every airport has a bit of a rhythm. They have their peak seasons and then their low seasons, just as it relates to travel and tourism. Our busiest year ever was in 2019. And what you'll look at, what we did here is we basically replicated the rhythm of 2019 over the next several years to give you a sense of what we would have expected on a typical year at Sky Harbor Airport. As you can probably see by looking at this, March and April is our peak season. It's the busiest time of year at Sky Harbor Airport. We taper down over the summer season, and then we have a bit of a bump back up again in the fall and winter holiday seasons before we start into the next spring again. Next, please. What you see here with this green line, and then ultimately the next couple of lines, we decided to, given we had a dramatic decrease in passengers in 2020, over 90% of our passenger population had really disappeared nearly overnight. We, as an enterprise fund department within the city of Phoenix, we make our own revenues and we invest any net revenues that we receive back into the airport in terms of providing services and facilities and infrastructure that support the traveling public. So we use no local general tax fund revenue here at Sky Harbor Airport for the investments that we make in the airport. And so what you see here is, as we look at the green line, we forecasted with our financial advisor and Moody's, who's our rating agency, what we expected to see over a couple of different scenarios. One was a medium term scenario, and that basically said we're going to have a medium impact, and within a year we expect to have full recovery back to 2019 levels after the downturn in 2020. The orange scenario you see really kind of replicates or models a 2-year recovery. And then we had a stress test that we did with Moody's, which if you click next again, you'll see the red line. That is the really kind of the worst case scenario we anticipated, and that would be a 4-year recovery to get back to normal traffic volume here at Sky Harbor. If you click next again, you'll see what our actuals are for the year up to the end of 2021. And what you'll see is we actually recovered quite well in the spring of 2021 as the vaccine came out. I think folks were really looking to get out of the house. It was timed perfectly with our spring break season. We saw a dramatic uptick in passenger traffic at Sky Harbor. And as you go into July, when we would traditionally have a decline in traffic, we actually saw an increase in traffic. That was sustained all the way up until the Omicron variant in November of last year. We saw a drop, but as you can see, as we're going into the spring, a couple months here, we're right back on par with 2019 levels, which is our busiest ever. So really, really happy about the recovery, and that really speaks volumes to the importance that this market has for travel and tourism. Next slide. So I'm really happy to share that as we look at all airports in the portfolio here in the US, we were the fastest recovering airport of all airports over the period of 2019 to 2021. As you look at TSA transportation statistics, US average recovery was about 68%, but what we are seeing is about 85%. What I would also tell you is the type of traveler we're serving is a little bit different than we were pre-pandemic. And in fact, based on our studies and surveys, we were about a 70-30 split in 2019 in terms of leisure versus business travelers going through our airport. And in 2021, what we're seeing now is we're at about 81% leisure and 19% business. So that tells us that there was a lot of discretionary money spent in terms of wanting to go and do staycations. The Mexico market did very, very well. But we're still seeing a little bit of a lag in terms of the business recovery sector. Okay, next slide. Another exciting thing is that we really have maintained our route network for the most part. We did obviously see international routes get suspended during the pandemic, but through it all, we still maintain 512 average daily departures to over 134 nonstop destinations. We have a very rich and saturated domestic market. We continue to work very closely on attracting new international markets. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit more on the kind of the investments that the airlines made in our market and in Sky Harbor, even through the pandemic. We saw 11 airlines adding 51 new markets during the pandemic. And this is at a time when many other airports were seeing significantly reduced air service throughout the region. And again, as I mentioned, the Mexico market was really strong. We did have some challenges in the European and Canadian markets, just given COVID-related restrictions. But if you go to the next slide, what you'll see is the Canadian market is really recovering quite well. And in fact, nearly all of the destinations that we've had pre-COVID in some way, shape, or form are either have already fully recovered and are back being served again out of Sky Harbor, or they will be in the near future. I did want to acknowledge Air Canada on May 4th of this year will be starting daily service, will be starting service to Montreal on a full year-round basis, whereas before the pandemic, they were only serving it on a seasonal basis. And I suspect that I think Glenn Williamson will be giving you a bit of an update on the Canadian market and how important that is to Arizona. We agree, and we're really, really excited to see that this air service to Canada is being restored the way it is. As you look at the right, in fact, just this afternoon, I'll be helping to celebrate the restoration of American Airlines nonstop service to London Heathrow. And with that, we will have, again, twice daily service to London Heathrow out of Phoenix. And in May of this year, 2022, Condor has announced that they will be providing twice weekly service nonstop from Phoenix back to Frankfurt. We continue to look for other opportunities, both in Europe as well as in Asia. And I hope that the next time I'm talking to you all, we'll have a really exciting update about maybe perhaps some new markets that we'll be serving from this region internationally. Next slide. So I wanted to touch on just briefly some innovations at Sky Harbor, and we made the news on this. We're one of the very first airports in the country to launch a program called Phoenix or PHX Reserve. And what this is it's a program that benefits the customer and it benefits the airport, and I'll tell you why. It benefits the customer because we have peak periods of the day where we have a lot of flights departing all at the same time. And if you come to the airport expecting to go through the security checkpoint and go through screening, you could face a pretty significantly long wait, upwards of 30 minutes or more to get through security screening. And what we've done here with the Phoenix Reserve program is we allow you to reserve a place in line at no cost to you when you fly out of either Terminal 3 or Terminal 4. And in doing that, what we can do is we can give you a slot that actually allows us to stagger the volumes of passengers that are going through the security checkpoint. And that provides for a much more predictable experience for everybody involved. It also takes a lot of the stress off of the airport and the TSA screening officers who are working to provide you with the best experience possible. And I think I mentioned it's free, but I'm going to mention it one more time. It's a free program for people to take advantage of. Just go to skyharbor.com/PHX Reserve. Next slide. Another really cool innovation. We are the first airport in the United States to launch a new program in partnership with the Arizona Motor Vehicle Division, as well as Apple and the Transportation Security Administration. If you have an Apple device, you no longer need to take your driver's license through the security checkpoint. You can actually download the Arizona driver's license into your Apple Wallet. When you go to the security checkpoint, you can actually authenticate using your phone, and you'll never have to worry about forgetting your ID home again. So it's a great new innovation. It'll be coming out to many other airports around the nation in the coming weeks and months. But very, very proud that Phoenix was a part of being first in this new innovative measure. Next. So in terms of things coming up this year, we're really excited about the Phoenix SkyTrain Stage 2. This is a 2.5 mile, $750 million investment that the Aviation Department is making into Sky Harbor Airport in the city of Phoenix to really help connect passengers from our terminal core to a new West economy parking opportunity, and then on to the rental car center. Eventually in our master plan, we are planning to do an additional new West terminal, which would go where terminals 1 and 2 used to be. And when that happens, we've already identified the space where the train would also serve that facility as well. But this new amenity is going to allow us to take over 80 buses off of our roadways, Sky Harbor Boulevard. It will also, by providing a new West economy parking option on 24th Street, remove a lot of vehicles from the roadways who are going through Sky Harbor Boulevard to get to parking on the east side of the airport, which is really where most of the parking is available today. All of that's designed to reduce congestion on Sky Harbor Boulevard and free up valuable curb space for the users who need it the most. We're excited to bring that online later this summer, and I think it's going to absolutely transform the customer experience as travelers come to and from the airport. Next slide. This is a picture of the 2 stations that we have. The one on the left is what we're calling the 24th Street station. It's right behind the building I'm sitting in right now, and that will serve over 1,600 spaces, parking spaces. We're also going to have over 20 electric vehicle charging stations available in this new parking lot for our customers. In the photo on the right is the new futuristic rental car center termination station, where you'll get out of the train at the rental car center, walk right across the drive path, and you'll be in to rent your vehicle. So very convenient. It will pick customers up every 3 minutes from our stations, and within a 3 to 5 minute ride on the SkyTrain, you'll be at the rental car center facility. So both wonderful enhancements. All of the fixed facilities have already been built and commissioned, and now we're just going through the rigorous SkyTrain safety testing that's necessary before we open it to the public. Next slide. So we're also very excited. In June of this year, we'll be activating the 8th and final concourse at Terminal 4, which is the busiest terminal at Sky Harbor Airport. This will introduce 8 new gates for Southwest Airlines, who has agreed to accept all of those gates. And we're going to be putting in some wonderful new sustainability features into this terminal, as well as pandemic and COVID-friendly safety enhancements in a number of different ways that'll be incorporated into this new concourse. You may have seen some headlines. The City Council just awarded a contract to a number of vendors who will be providing concessions opportunities as well. A lot of local opportunities will come to the airport, including EG's, which I know is out of Tucson, Arizona, and is a fan favorite for many locals. We'll have a Sip Coffee Bar in there. We'll have Pedal House Brewery also there, Chick-fil-A, and the first time ever we'll have a common use VIP lounge available for anybody who wants to do it, to participate in the lounge experience or get away from the kind of the busyness of the terminal environment. It'll be the first ever lounge on the south side of Terminal 4. So we're excited to bring that to our customers as well. In all, by the end of the year, we'll have over $1 billion in new investments activated at Sky Harbor Airport for the traveling public as we prepare for Super Bowl in 2023. Next slide. This is another photo. It's like a nearly built photo, as you can see, looking to the west from Terminal 4. You can see the SkyTrain Guideway, the connector bridge, the new Diamond Head node that we have there. It's a traveler respite area. And then moving on to the concourse itself. We're really excited to get that open for the public in June of this year. Next slide. So in terms of upcoming infrastructure investments, in 2019, the City Council approved nearly $6 billion in new investments through what we're calling a comprehensive asset management plan, or it's an airport master plan for Sky Harbor Airport. Sky Harbor is only a 3,200 acre airport. So every investment we make, we need to move something out of the way in order to make room for that investment. And so it's really important that we're protecting the airport and we're focused on making the investments in the wisest way possible. And that's why this master planning effort is so important to us. When I came on board as the director of Sky Harbor Airport in March of last year, I had asked for the team to revalidate the master plan and to update the forecast, given what we had all just gone through over the last couple of years in the pandemic. And as a result, we've identified over $1.5 billion of investments that we intend to make in Sky Harbor over the next 5 years. I'll give you just a real high level preview of what those are. In purple on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see we're going to be putting in a new crossover taxiway. It's likely the first investment that we'll make using bipartisan infrastructure law funding that became available to airports this year. And so that crossover taxiway is designed to make our airfield much more efficient than it is today, which will reduce taxi times and delays for travelers landing or taking off at the airport. Putting that taxiway segment in requires us to move our west cargo facility, and you'll see that in green. And what we're going to do is move that a little bit further east to where Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 used to be. And we'll be putting that there on a temporary basis. The ultimate goal is to move cargo all to the north of the north runway, and we're working on that as well. But for the meantime, what our goal is to get that cargo out of the way and move it closer to where Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 was to accommodate that demand. Just to the north of that green, you'll see Sky Harbor Boulevard. As you know, it does have a lot of twists and turns in it today. What we're planning to do is make a first phase of investment, which would allow us to help straighten out Sky Harbor Boulevard and realign it to improve the efficiency and capacity of the boulevard to serve the traveling public. To the right of that, you'll see in red, we have a new concourse that we're proposing in Terminal 3. Terminal 3 is where we have basically American and Southwest and our international carriers in Terminal 4. All the other airlines that serve Phoenix generally fly in and out of Terminal 3. We're hearing really positive signs from those carriers that they're looking for new gates to be able to continue to grow their service to our market. And so we're going to be competing for FAA bipartisan infrastructure law competitive funding in hopes to be able to build a new 6-gate concourse at Terminal 3. To the right of that, we're looking to build a post-security connector walkway that will connect Terminal 3 to Terminal 4. And what we really like about that is you will be able to go through any security checkpoint at that point at any terminal and access any gate at Sky Harbor Airport with that connector tunnel or walkway in place. And we know, just given the airline relationships that they have with one another, in many cases, you may fly in on one airline and have a connecting ticket on another airline, and this walkway will be a much better enhancement in terms of your passenger experience if you want to connect from one gate to the other. To the right of that, in the blue, for the first time ever, we're thinking about a hotel in the terminal core connected to Terminal 4. We used to have an old rental car center garage. It still exists there today on the west side of Terminal 4. We think that's a perfect footprint for us to put in a hotel. That's a much requested amenity by our passengers and business partners. We'll have up to 200 to 300 keys, potentially a nice premium brand hotel that would connect right into Terminal 4. And then to the right of that, we have some additional cargo enhancements and improvements. And to the south, we have the center runway extension. And what we're seeing today is the center runway is about 10,300 feet long. Our north runway is our longest runway. And the most efficient operation of our airport is to have planes landing on the north and south runways and having planes depart on the center runway. Given the climate changes that we've seen, more and more aircraft are asking to depart off of the north runway because it is a little bit longer than the center runway. It gives them that little bit extra safety buffer in their takeoff roll. And so in order to keep our airport as efficient as possible, we want to extend our center runway to be on par with or as long as the north runway, so that all the departing flights continue to use the center runway as they traditionally do. Next slide. Just a quick update on the Tempe Entertainment District proposal. I know that's been in the news a lot, and that's something that we're working obviously very closely with the city of Tempe as well as the developer on this proposal. The proposal is to put in a new hockey arena, Major League Hockey arena for the Arizona Coyotes, as well as create an entertainment district, multi-use facility, including some residential uses in that parcel. The airport has expressed some concerns with this, and it might surprise you, but we really aren't all that concerned from an airport perspective with the arena itself. We think a lot of the issues related to the arena can be addressed. The biggest issues that the airport's identified in working with the developer on this proposal is there are a number of high-rise buildings being proposed, and given that the development is only 9,800 feet off of the end of our busiest departure runway at the airport and in the state of Arizona, we want to make sure that there is adequate safety margins incorporated into any development to allow the pilots and the airplanes the comfort to be able to take off without restricting capacity at Sky Harbor Airport. The other big issue that we have is the proposal does contain up to 1,700 residential units. And that sits squarely, as you can see, underneath our busiest flight paths and is within what we call our 65 DNL contour at Sky Harbor Airport. And so that's going to really provide for an incompatible use for that parcel and would create a situation where we believe the residents in that community will be very, very upset about their kind of what they would expect in terms of quality of life underneath the flight path. On top of that, we obviously have an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Tempe that really outlines how we work together to ensure compatible uses go in developments adjacent to Sky Harbor. And what's really important to me is that even after I retire, that we position Sky Harbor Airport to be able to continue to grow to serve the economic needs of the entire region. And so we're hopeful that we'll be able to get to a good outcome here to address some of those concerns. Next slide. And I'd like to just wrap up with just a high note on sustainability. It's a passion of mine, and I'm really excited about the work our team is doing. We have nearly 7 megawatts of solar electric generation already at Sky Harbor Airport. On that photo in the lower right, this is actually a really cool story. And many of you that have used our airport for many years probably remember back in the day when we had what would be, I would like to call them resort quality fairways and golf greens, if you will, on Sky Harbor Boulevard. We've converted that now to desert xeriscaping. And what that has done is it's saved over 5 million gallons of water a year at Sky Harbor Airport. And it's also saved us over $500,000 in operating expenses. So I call that a win-win when we can do something that's great for the environment and also is great for business. And to top it off, it's great for our customers because they're now getting their very first taste of what a saguaro cactus is when they come into our great state and get to see some of the wonderful desert scenery right as they're either coming in or leaving our airport. And I'm also on the left, you'll see the net zero carbon roadmap. I've challenged our team to identify a pathway to get our campus to net zero carbon emissions no later than 2040, which is nearly a decade ahead of the 2050 UN goal. And I think working closely with our power provider, APS, and many other partners, we'll be able to meet, if not exceed, that goal. Next slide. And that wraps up my presentation. Madam Chair, I did want to, if you'll indulge me, I wanted to acknowledge Phoenix City Councilwoman Ann O'Brien, as well as Rubin Alonzo. Rubin serves on our Phoenix Aviation Advisory Board. They both have been instrumental in helping us to ensure that the development of our airports meets the demand that we're expecting and is done in a way that's compatible with the communities that we serve. So I want to thank both of them for their partnership, as well as the work that they're doing on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic. That was an amazing presentation, Mr. Makowski. Are there any questions from the membership?
Chair, this is Eric Osborne. I do have a question.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Chad, for the presentation. I love talking aviation, and we could take the rest of the agenda and talk about this if you want to. we have a small airport that we have big plans for out in the West Valley, the Buckeye Airport, and excited to see growth out there, and one day be a help to Phoenix Sky Harbor. So any conversations we can have, we would love to sit down and talk to you about what we can do to maybe relieve some of the traffic at Phoenix Sky Harbor. And with that, I understand that the Copperheads are looking to expand and their footprint there at Sky Harbor. What does that look like for you guys?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the question, and would love to talk to you about the future of the West Valley. We have, as you know, invested in the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport in the East Valley, and we do expect that, given the dramatic growth in the West Valley, there will be a time when development of a commercial reliever airport in the West is absolutely appropriate. So I'd love to have that conversation.
Great.
As it relates to the Air National Guard, which is on the south side of Sky Harbor Airport, we are working very cooperatively with the wing commander at the Air National Guard. And in fact, we'll be taking an initiative to the Phoenix City Council in late May, early June to do a 10-year lease extension on what's already a 27-year lease with 27 years of term remaining. What that does is it allows the Air National Guard to continue to request federal military construction funds to invest in the base to prepare it for a potential future mission with the KC-46 variant aircraft, which is what they're very interested in. The bigger story, though, is how do we grow that base to serve that future mission? And I mentioned earlier that we are a 3,200-acre campus, and anytime we want to give any one tenant more space, we have to figure out how we actually adjust and account for that from another tenant who may already have that space. In this case, the space that they would like to move into actually is currently occupied by our South Cargo Airlines, including FedEx and UPS. And so the way we see things is we really are focused on, and this was identified in the 2019 master plan, expanding to the north of the airport. And we have some room to do that. One of the bigger obstacles in our path is we have the Union Pacific Railroad just on the north side of the airport. We'd ultimately have to depress that railroad track and then bridge over it with a taxiway to be able to support future cargo growth on the north side of the airport. Doing that would free up the capacity that would ultimately allow the Air National Guard to expand the way they'd like to.
Great. Thank you for that. And I'll have our staff reach out to you and see if we can't set something up in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions from membership? All right, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. The next item on the agenda is an update on the bilateral relationship and economic importance of Canada to Arizona. Glenn Williamson, CEO and founder of the Canada-Arizona Business Council, will provide this update.
Superb. Thank you very, very much. I hope everybody is having a great day today. Chad, I can't tell you how cool it is as a water guy to hear how much water you're saving and what you've done with your zero-scaping. My hat goes off to the airport and all the management teams around it that are involved in that. As you can imagine, April 1st is come and gone, and as of now, pre-entry COVID tests are no longer required going back into Canada. So we anticipate a vast increase in Canadian tourism coming back into Arizona. A couple of things that we've noticed in the Canadian market is that they have been pent up a little bit longer than most, and therefore they are really looking to get out. So from a tourism point of view, we see this is going to be a tsunami of Canadians going somewhere. We have concern that they may not be going to Asia or Europe as much, which means that they will be coming to the States a little bit more. And Arizona has done a magnificent job over the years of laying the groundwork in all the cities that are involved with the Canada-Arizona Business Council, Glendale and Maricopa, Peoria, Buckeye, Mesa, Gilbert, Fountain Hills, Casa Grande, Tucson as well, Scottsdale, Yuma. All of you have really stepped up and built this platform that we see is going to move. Now remember that we're sitting with 37 million Canadians to the north of us, and we only historically have gotten about 1 million of those from a tourism point of view. We have been looking for an inflection point, and we believe that this inflection point may have just occurred, and we are going to see some transfiguring of routing going on. And as Chad indicated, this May 4th flight to Montreal is a great one. We are seeing indicators of secondary airlines like Flair opening up 5 secondary and tertiary markets in Canada with Tucson as another indicator of Canadians that really do want to get away. So we think that going from 1 million to 1.5 million Canadian visitors is not going to be as difficult as we thought. We think that will also increase the sales and revenue side of the tourism side to in excess of 2.4, closer to $3 billion when you include all the snowbirds. We do have a trend of snowbirds selling houses for extraordinarily high prices right now, but those same Canadians are coming down and renting. So it's not that we're losing an awful lot of this, we're actually finding it to be slightly different usage of space and assets that we have currently in the state of Arizona, and specifically in Maricopa County and the city of Phoenix. So tourism, we feel very, very confident the pent-up demand is going to come at a very positive moment. I can't reiterate enough the importance of the previous presentation and how all this expansion at Mesa Gateway Airport. Eric, I'm with you on Buckeye. We are seeing a huge increase as well on private jet aviation. So during the pandemic, unusually, Canadian foreign direct investment actually increased at a substantial amount coming down into the state of Arizona. We have watched what may have been a slowdown of people movement during the pandemic. Foreign direct investment from Canada has been pouring into the state of Arizona. We are watching companies like CGI and Danson's and White Claw, Electromechanica. Colliers is busier than ever. Circle K is remodeling. BMO they're buying banks down here as fast as they can. And RBC is expanding a lot of their activities. So when we look at all of that, we are very encouraged with the type of investments that these Canadian companies are making down here. Just as was mentioned in the previous presentation, the concept of infrastructure is very, very important. Power and water. So EPCOR, Liberty Utilities, Global Water, Capital Power, Stantec, all Canadian companies that have a vested interest in the growth of Arizona. And as we're watching something occur at a global stage that we've never seen before, the redistribution of manufacturing and million square foot facilities going up almost like corner stores in the Southwest. We're even looking at White Claw saying they're going to double down on their size, or Core Power intimating that they are going to double down on their size out in Buckeye. These things have never been seen in this area, and I've lived here for 35 years. And I'm very, very excited, but at the same time, I'm very concerned that we do and watch carefully what we're building and how we're building. These Canadian companies that are coming here hopefully are bringing with them best practices as they're developing all of this. I also had the opportunity recently to spend a lot of time down on the border and taking a look at what is going on with Nogales and the amount of produce and manufacturing that links all the way up to the supply chains at Sky Harbor. So I was very impressed with where I see that going. But again, water will become something of an important factor to what is going on with that. And we do really, really want to make sure that as these Canadian companies are investing here and Canadians are coming here, that they're doing it properly and they're adding value to all of the cities that you all represent. I really believe that at the end of the day, when we're watching all the international travel that takes place, Canada will still maintain its position as the largest foreign direct investor in the state of Arizona. But it's not just going to be buildings and manufacturing. We are watching Canada from a mining point of view. We are watching it from a manufacturing point of view. We are watching it from a water, from a power point of view. All these infrastructure things that are very, very important to all of you in your constituencies, we think that these Canadian companies will bring to bear the best practices as well as the capital and the people that are required to do this. I am very excited also to look at what we think will be northbound traffic for Canada. And this again gets back to our airports, watching Mesa Gateway grow the way it has, watching Tucson grow the way it has. all of them in the shadow of Sky Harbor, but Sky Harbor being a sharing and caring airport, that best practices is emulated in all these other airports. Scottsdale, as I mentioned before, we have never seen more Canadian flights in and out, private aircraft coming in and out. With that are decision makers, and those decision makers are finding themselves in an environment in Arizona where they're going, we need to step up our game. We need to participate more, and we need to engage more with the cities. And that's what the Canada-Arizona Business Council was designed for. C-suite connective tissue between our political members and our members installed here in the state. So with all of that being said, I am thrilled we're out of the pandemic. I don't think we lost much leeway in what we've been doing. On a separate note, for all of those that know me, I stepped down as the Honorary Consul of Canada effective the 1st of April. So I am now focusing 100% of my time on EPCOR and on the Canada-Arizona Business Council, which means we're going to step up our game even more in how we can bring Canadian tourists, foreign direct investment, and increased trade between Canada and the state of Arizona. A byproduct of this is also what I like to call Project North America. As we watch Europe and Asia going through supply chain issues, we believe, and we are watching something that we haven't seen since post-World War II, and that is all of this activity growing and coming to the United States, the Southwest being a focal point, and in the middle of that focal point, Maricopa County, the numbers don't lie. The numbers are through the roof. Canada wants to be part of that. Canadian companies want to be part of that, and Canadian tourists want to be part of that. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Are there any questions from the membership? All right, hearing none, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Again, Mr. Williamson, I want to thank you for the fantastic update. The next item on the agenda is an update on the Momentum 2050 MAG Regional Transportation Plan. Audra Kester-Thomas, MAG Transportation Planning Program Manager, and Nathan Pryor, MAG Policy and Government Relations Director, will provide an update.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of EDC. It's a pleasure to be invited back to your meeting today to provide the latest developments associated with the extension of Proposition 400, a 25-year extension of the dedicated half-cent sales tax that since 1985 has funded the transportation system that we know and enjoy today. Next slide. Since we last met, we have made some progress, important progress through the legislature. The House committee heard our House bill, passed it out of House committee, and then we've had great success in the Senate behind Senator Pace's leadership. We're successful in having our Senate Bill 1356 make it through the Senate with a 21-9 vote. Several amendments defeated on the floor with the important element of the emergency clause intact. I'm going to turn it now over to Nathan Pryor, who talk a little bit more about some of the strategies, opportunities that we still have on the table and what the rest of session looks like.
Great, thank you, Audra. Madam Chair, members of the EDC. So obviously this ongoing work is important. Continuing investment in our transportation infrastructure, no surprise to anyone on this body, is important to continue not just mobility, addressing mobility issues, but also fueling our economic opportunity as a region. As Ms. Kester-Thomas pointed out, overall, we're turning positive with our bills passing through the Senate in particular. We currently have 2 bills in the House, so that'd be 1356 and 2598 have both gone through the House Transportation Committee, however, are waiting to be heard in the House Rules Committee. It is the practice of the House Rules Chair to see a majority of the majority caucus in the affirmative before agendizing that item on the Rules Committee. So with that being said, we encourage our members of the EDC, of course, our MAG member agencies, to continue those ongoing conversations with members of the House, keeping this kind of top of mind not get lost in the shuffle among other issues, recognizing that issues of water and education, upcoming budget discussions are top of mind as well. But also we want to keep the interest and sustain the level of effort in our bills and get these across the finish line. With that being said, as we talk to our lobbying community and business stakeholders, it's in the belief that we will be successful in our efforts. It's just a matter of maintaining those conversations with legislators, again, focusing on members of the House, requesting their support in this effort. We do anticipate that this could be one of the last bills to come out of the legislature, again, with a larger kind of calculus, if you will, behind budget conversations and other issues, but no shortage of attention given to this issue. Again, making it through the Senate with a 21-9 vote is important. It retains our emergency clause, which will allow us to go to the ballot in November of 2022, later this year. So that's important as well. We do have a fallback. You can see that on the slide. House Bill 2685 is a striker introduced by Senator Pace, who also is the sponsor of 1356. This is a fallback measure. So working with Senator Pace, just looking for any contingency plans. But for right now, we're going to maintain the course, focusing on 1356, 2598, and getting those through legislature in the hopefully coming weeks. So, Madam Chair, that concludes our remarks. We are available for any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Kester-Thomas and Mr. Pryor. Are there any questions from the membership?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Betts.
Just a quick question. What are we hearing, if at all, from the ninth floor about concerns with conflicting with a potential water measure on the ballot?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Betts. We have not heard concerns related to that. So it's something we will keep an eye on and monitor those conversations. But that issue has not arisen to our knowledge at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. The next item on the agenda is an update on Mexico initiatives. Elsa Belgin, MAG Policy Planner 2, will provide an update on the ongoing activities conducted in Mexico representing MAG.
Thank you, Chair Mosillo and members of the committee for the opportunity to share with you about the recent efforts building connections with our top international trade partners, along with Canada, the country of Mexico. I am Elsa Belgin, member of the Policy and Government Relations team and coordinator of our Mexico initiatives. I recently represented our organization in multiple delegations traveling to Mexico, and I believe it is important to highlight some of the binational organizations I met with to potentially seek future collaboration opportunities. Next slide. The U.S.-Mexico Foundation is a Washington, D.C.-based nonprofit that promotes binational understanding and collaboration between the United States and Mexico. The director, Enrique Perret, leads their offices in Mexico City and Washington, D.C., where his team creates research documents and binational policy recommendations. Every year, they select diverse policy professionals across the United States and host an educational week-long program to meet their counterparts in Mexico City. The 360 Public Diplomacy Tour took place in January this year, and I had the honor to represent MAG in this fully funded program. Here on the picture, you can see the rest of this year's cohort at our welcoming reception. Next slide. During the Public Diplomacy Tour, we were hosted at the Mexican Senate for a special session where legislators shared their view of the U.S.-Mexico relations. I had the opportunity to greet Senator for Baja California, Gina Cruz Blackledge, who currently serves as chair of the Senate's Foreign Relations Committee for North America. Next slide. We also had the opportunity to meet Stephanie Siptak, Chief of Mission of the United States Embassy. During our meeting, her and her embassy public affairs team shared the latest activities of Ambassador Ken Salazar to strengthen the trade between our countries. And also, we learned about how the consular offices serve the thousands of Americans that reside and do business in Mexico. Next slide. We also attended the CEO's welcoming reception of the American Society in Mexico. This is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization established to represent all U.S. private interests in Mexico for the last 80 years. As an important note, the U.S. ambassador to Mexico traditionally serves as the honorary president of this organization. During the event, President Larry Rubin presented a speech congratulating all the CEOs of American-based companies in Mexico. Next slide. And lastly, we wish to highlight the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as we met with its chief officer for North America, who coordinates strategy and communications with all Mexican consulates in the United States and Canada. His teams also coordinates the relaunch of the US-Mexico high-level economic dialogue meetings in recognition of the ongoing strategic economic relationship between President Biden and President López Obrador. Next slide. As you can see, there are institutions and diverse organizations interested in improving our ties with Mexico and also Canada. It is our goal at MAG to assist our member agencies to expand their policy and trade connections internationally to support our local economies. We encourage our member agencies, managers, and economic development directors to join our upcoming economic mission to the city of Hermosillo, Sonora, from Wednesday, June 8th through Friday, June 10th this year. Hermosillo Mayor Antonio Astiazaran and his office are co-hosting this delegation, and they look forward to welcome you to their city, the capital of Sonora. For more information, please reach out to me, Elsa Beljean, at ebeljean@azmag.gov. Thank you, Chair. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Beljean. Are there any questions from the membership? All right, hearing none, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Our next item is request for future agenda items. Are there any requests from membership for an item on a future agenda? All right, hearing none, are there any announcements from the membership at this time? All right, hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned. The next meeting of the MAG Economic Development Committee will be in person on June 7th, 2022. See everyone next time. Thank you so much.